This happened when I was in the 4th grade, during Christmas time, around 2014. I live in Salem, Oregon, which is relevant to the story. Downtown, there's this antique store called the Unicorn. We went there to get my older brother World War II stuff for Christmas, because he likes that kind of thing. It's a really big store for an antique shop, so like normal kids, my brother and I went off to explore. Around the front of the shop, past a couple of bookcases, was this kids section. It was mostly full, with old board games and those tin toys, like those red geese with blue hats. What I did find was this old doll with a sticker on its face, just all dirty and broken. It said "Cursed Doll" on this piece of paper, with a warning sign at the bottom. I don't really remember what the warning sign said. Being 10 years old, I just looked at it and called bull, and then flipped ass and told the doll to need Jesus. Later that night I went to sleep and had a dream of a green face in a dark background that kept trying to eat me. I woke up all gross and sweaty, but I realized that the bathroom light was on. My room is connected to the bathroom, so it's not outside my room in the hallway like in most people's houses. So when I woke up, I could clearly see the light reflecting off my wall. I could hear the light switch being turned on and off, but the light was still on. Eventually the light turned off, but the switch kept on flicking. Then the banging on my wall happened, and it lasted for a good 2 minutes. It just kept getting louder and louder, and then all I remember is not being able to breathe and passing out. When I woke up the next morning, I asked my brother why he kept banging on my wall. He said that he was at a friend's house last night, so he couldn't have banged on the wall. That scared the crap out of me. I told my dad what happened, and he believes that I pissed off whatever possessed that doll or made it cursed. I don't really mess with that stuff anymore, but cool story, I guess. When I was about 8 or 9, my entire family went to a quinceañera. I guess we were good enough friends with the birthday girl that we received a quince doll, which is basically meant to look like the birthday girl. To give you an image of what it looked like, imagine a doll with a white dress and curly hair. We kept it in the living room, where I slept on the floor, which is another story. And my brothers and I always had some weird feeling about it, like it was watching us. I'd say around 3 to 4 months of it being in the living room is when I started to notice weird things happen in not only the living room, but also in both of my brother's rooms. I'll start with my experiences first. Like I mentioned before, I used to sleep in the living room. I would lay down near my parents' door, and I would start to hear the strangest noises coming from near the TV, or near the small cabinet that we put the doll on display. From hearing things in the kitchen fall on the floor, to hearing a little girl laugh on the couch, a lot of weird things started to happen. I pretty much tried to ignore all of this with tears in my eyes, doing what kids do when they're scared. I covered myself with a blanket. But one experience will forever haunt me, and I still get chills thinking about it. I was crying one night for Lord knows what. My brother tells me it's because I was claiming I heard voices near my ear. My parents didn't believe me and told me that I was delusional. He invited me into his room to sleep, and I jumped at the opportunity. Just before entering his room, I went to the restroom. It's literally right next to my brother's room. While I was in there, I felt someone's hand right on my shoulder. I immediately turn around and get freaked out. I hurried up and got out of there, but that wasn't the worst thing. I entered his room and slept on his bed while he just played on the PS3. I slept from maybe around 20-ish minutes to 30 before waking up to him coming in the room with food. I kid you not, The moment he sat down, the closet door swung open with enough force to hit the wall. We looked at each other in disbelief about what we just saw. My dad burst in to ask what the hell was going on. We tried explaining it to him, but he just shook it off and told us to go back to sleep. He walked out of the room and my brother continued to play. We were trying our best not to talk about it, when we hear the toilet just flush on its own, along with the shower curtain moving. Mind you, nobody was in there. We would have known, since the door always creaks open and shut with a pretty distinct sound. That room, I'd like to say, is where most of the activity always happened. The guy that we let rent out that room always said he was scared of it, but because he needed a place to stay, he just dealt with it. That was my experience when I was younger. But now, let me tell you about my older brothers. I'll start with the youngest of my older brothers. We'll call him Dave. Dave slept in the room on the other side of the house, completely away from the doll, but with a massive window that had a hole within the curtains. He had things happen in the afternoon, like tools being thrown from one side of the room to the other, the TV falling, and unexplainable scratches on his chest. But the one thing that scared the heck out of me was that he had this dream. In the dream was the girl in the white dress. Let me clarify, not the doll, but a girl. This happened to both of my brothers. The dream started off normally, until he noticed the white-dressed girl at his school and went near her. She turned around, and as he remembers, she didn't have eyes. It was just black holes, and she had a sad expression on her face. He woke up to my parents trying to calm him down. I remember being right outside his room, peeking in. He was legit crying his eyes out, and I've never seen him act that way before. I have another older brother. We'll call him Mark. I believe that he had the worst of it since he slept not even 5 feet away from the doll. He also had a dream about the girl in the dress and the doll as well. But his dream wasn't scary, just anxiety-inducing in my opinion. All he remembers is sitting at the dinner table. The doll was not too far away from the table. It was right in front of the table if I remember correctly. The girl with the white dress was sitting across from him, with the doll next to her. Apparently the doll was blinking, and the girl was emotionless, not blinking whatsoever. This is when he started to hear a clock tick. It ticked and ticked and ticked, until he suddenly woke up in a cold sweat. But the problem was, when he woke up, the doll wasn't in the cabinet. Instead, it was right in front of him. He screamed and threw it toward the closet, breaking the head of the thing. My mom came in and thought somebody had broke in. She saw the doll with the broken head on the floor. And the creepiest thing was that the doll was upright, with the head right behind it. While she was extremely angry, she was just glad that he was safe, and she threw the doll out. That was the end of it, really. A few more things did happen, but nothing as bad as what I just told you about. Needless to say, we're glad the doll is gone. Recently, I've been reading some other stories and I was reminded of something that happened to me a while ago. Once a year, my parents go on vacation together somewhere in the United States, usually to the Bahamas or to Florida. They leave me in charge of the house with my dog, and they like for me to check in on my Nana, who lives in our basement. Normal, right? There's another important bit of background information. My dad takes part in this weird golfing competition with his friends, where if somebody wins a certain amount of holes, they get to take home this creepy doll as a sort of trophy. I don't know why, but I'm guessing it's some running gag. Well, my dad won the competition, and he brought it home before he left. I'm not at all scared of dolls. In fact, before he left, I slept with it beside me as a joke. It was basically an old baby doll